26 years ago, we had hopes, we had dreams, we had aspirations for where we expected to be 26 years after that murder took place. Comrade Malachi has done a fantastic job of laying the legal foundation for why we can stand up anywhere and call what happened to Ken Saro-Wiwa murder. The Nigerian state, headed by General Abacha, represented by Justice Auta, murdered Ken Saro-Wiwa. We can say that without mincing words because those are established facts. But the unfortunate thing about us Nigerians is that we are not unlike the chicken you find in poultries. There is a detachment when you bring one of the fowl and you slaughter it in front of the rest, and then you cook your pot of soup and you drop the entrails for the rest. They will eat the entrails. There is a disconnect. They fail to understand that what they are eating is not in any way different from themselves. And that even though the number for that particular cockerel came up that day, it might very well be their own number that might be coming up the next day. There is a perpetual disconnect. It only ever happens to others. We never ever seem capable of drawing the common thread between the tragedies that plays out in our lives on a daily basis and what is happening to our fellow Nigerians up and down the length of Nigeria. Today we are talking about Ken Saro-Wiwa and the Ogoni 8, or is it 9 now? Numbers don't matter in Nigeria anymore. We get killed every day by different things for different reasons without reason. So it's gotten to the point where we've become almost desensitized. So when I received the invitation to come and speak on this subject today, I realized that there is a critical importance for a need to connect the threads for ourselves so that we stop dealing with these issues as though they be happening in isolation and as though they were disconnected. I listened to a doctor and I listened to the comrade president of TUC when he was talking. And I noticed that my brother Malachi as well, everybody keeps drawing this thread. And we draw the thread, but we fail to make the connection. Somebody, a doubter it was, that pointed out that the same spirit that was at play in murdering the Ogoni people and Ken Saro-Wiwa was equally at play at Odi. It was the same spirit you saw at Zakibiam. It's the same spirit you saw at the Lekki toll gate. It's the same spirit you see every day when the Nigerian police points its gun and shoots a Nigerian, declaring sometime on camera, I will kill you and nothing will happen. Let me announce to you, you are not citizens. You need to first of all wrap your brains around the fact that even though you are sometimes lied to and addressed as citizens, you are not citizens, you are indigents. And okay, let me be nice to you and call you denizens. Those are people who live in an environment. Those who are called citizens have rights. Citizens protest because they have votes. And because they are protesting to those they have appointed to office by their votes, they listen to them and make the necessary adjustments in satisfaction of the yearning of the people that led to the protest in the first place. Denizens and indigents and residents, you don't protest because you are disturbing the peace of your feudal lords. So when you protest, they kill you. In extreme cases, such as the case of Ken Saro-Wiwa, they will use the justice system, which actually delivers no justice. If it delivers justice, you wouldn't have people still in Kirikiri a year after NSAS. A year after, there are people in jail, in prisons. The government continues to lie about what it did on the day, and amongst us, there are still people who tell these same lies on behalf of the state. You are not citizens. Wrap your brains around that fact quickly. Second fact, you are not in a democracy. Campaign for democracy and human rights. Abi? Committee for Defense of Human Rights. You don't defend human rights in a democracy. Human rights are established by reason of your citizenship. This organization remains relevant today because the Nigerian still isn't in a democracy. Not only is he not a citizen, he is not in a democracy. So when you start talking about 2023 election, it means that you have already bought into certain illusions and lies. You've embraced the lie of your citizenship, which is a lie. You've also embraced the lie that you're in a democracy. People don't switch off lights and cameras in a democracy. Citizens are not murdered and their citizenship and humanity is denied in a democracy. You want an apology and exoneration in relation to Kensaruwiwa. The Nigerian state has refused to tell us how many people were killed on November 17, 1993 on Ikorodu Road. We were in this Lagos before Abacha took over. Flatbed trucks were on Ikorodu Road. They were killing people and they were picking up the bodies. Those people remain unaccounted for today. And we are talking about Lekki Toll Gate. The Nigerian state is well practiced in the art of murdering its own citizens, quote and unquote. So when we are now talking about what? Apology, before you get that apology, it will mean that you have done the needful. And what are the needful? You've gained your citizenship, which you don't have. You've won a democracy, which you don't have. And then you have managed to build a nation. Because what you have currently is not a nation, is not even a state. Those who rule us are actually banking on the disintegration of Nigeria. They are not hopeful. They don't dispense hope. They themselves are completely hopeless. And they are counting on us to fall on ourselves, kill ourselves, in different wars on their behalf so that they might escape the justice that rightly should come to them. In a place where people are afraid of consequences, you do not find the likes of Ponde fainting in the National Assembly. In a place where people are afraid of consequences, nobody is going to be talking about off the mic. That is not going to happen. The only reason they are offering mic and they are fainting is because they don't expect that you hold them to account. They expect that we will sit down in places like this, in silos, and be speaking Dogon Turechi to ourselves, and then we like it online, we forward it, we share it, and it ends there. If you are interested in becoming citizens, if a democracy interests you, if you truly want the sacrifice of Kenole, we were to count for something, you have to learn the lessons of the past to navigate the future. And one of the lessons we need to learn very quickly is a clear understanding of the need to correctly define the nature of our struggle. We are not in a pro-democracy struggle. That's a distraction. It is a distraction. You can mobilize around issues if you are dealing with a settled democracy where you are seeking concessions. But when you are dealing with a system where your humanity is discounted and those who are meant to protect you are the ones who hunt for your life, you don't go around talking democracy. You talk about liberation. We have a liberation struggle in front of us. Anything that turns Nigeria around is a revolution. The hope of the poor man and those of us who are conscious enough to understand the evil nature of the state in which we live Our challenge is to ensure that this does not devolve into violence, because that is what the state and our rulers would prefer. They are the practitioners in the act of violence. They would happily engage if we turn violent. In fact, refusing to turn violent is a problem for them. If you remember, I don't want to take too much of our time, as you know, I've warned you, I like the sound of my own voice. But I'm also conscious of the need to round things up. The key thing I want all of us to understand is that when people talk about the worst form of democracy being better than dictatorship, which was what my brother Edauto was raising, I laugh. They are adding shades to the truth. Is either the truth or is a lie. When Nigeria talks about true federalism, what you are hearing is a lie. They've distracted you completely. Is either federalism or is not federalism. When you are not talking true federalism, it's already telling you are debating a lie. So when you talk about the least democracy, there is no least democracy. In every democracy, the right of the citizen is paramount. In any place where you find citizenship rights blithely discounted, abrogated, and dismissed, as is the case in Nigeria, the reality is that you don't have a democracy. So, what we have, we must be quick to tell ourselves, inform our colleagues, tell the mass out there, you don't have a democracy. We're in a dictatorship. It pretends to be a democracy, but if it were to be a democracy, your votes will count, your voice will count, and your rights would matter. There is not sufficient to say that, because, okay, so I say, I have named this crude oil. It doesn't make it crude oil, it's still water. I can call it crude oil as many times as I care, and the proof of my stupidity will be when I manage to turn it into my car. If, let me even say I call it petrol, it remains water. If I turn it into my car engine will knock. Simple. That is where we are.